Murfreesboro Sports Authority. We're excited to have a great agenda, so wanted to see if there's any public comment that anyone has to come speak before.
No, sir.
Being none, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. So you were sent the minutes, and you have a set of minutes in front of you. If you want to take a look at that for a minute, let me know, and we need to approve them at some point.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Call the roll, please, Ms. Melody.
Mr. Adams?
Aye.
Mr. Ezel?
Aye.
Mr. Parsley?
Aye.
Ms. Polk? Aye. Mr. Turnbow?
Aye.
Chair LaTour?
Yes. Or aye, yeah, whatever. I was reading, sorry.
And team, Paul.
Yes. All right, so item number 3, the review of the marketing process. So as you know, at the last meeting, we hired Dongle and Associates to come in, and with Mike Humes, who's managing director of his firm, and he's here today. But Craig, I'll let you take it from here, and then we'll look forward to the presentation from Mike.
All right, well, we've all met Mike virtually, you all have, and
Yep.
so he's here now. Some of you met him personally, but I'll turn it over to Mike and let him take the podium and take us away.
Welcome, Mike.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Thank you for the time, and do you want me to speak into this for recording? Okay.
Sure.
And if you can hear me okay. I've spent a lot of time over the last few years in Murfreesboro, and I was remarking to both Craig and Nate this morning how clean it is, how the buildings look so great. I didn't see any blight. If there is any, it's not evident. So I think what you've been doing is really positive, and keep up the great work. And standing up a sports authority is yet another step forward. We have one in Memphis, and that is the entity that holds the bonds that finance FedEx Forum, and is doing more work in that space. So I spent the last few months behind the scenes doing a lot of work, and you'll see a little bit. Here I have focused on top line, so a 40,000-foot view of a way forward for a strategic plan for the Murfreesboro Sports Authority about how to drive revenue, how to monetize assets, how to develop a fund and opportunity, and focus really on what's the case for support. And I think it all comes back to having active kids. So when we're out in the community and we're looking for investment, active kids make the world a better place. It makes the kids better. It reduces our health care costs. They're more likely to go to college. It reduces the risk of heart disease and other diseases that affect many people that aren't active. So this is the premise of what we will use to go to the community to ask for financial support and partnerships, that this is about making the citizens of Murfreesboro better people, healthier people. So the scope of work, and a lot of this has already been done. We've done, over the last number of months, an on-site tour of all the properties. You'll see that we have priority properties. We've spent some time looking at if there's been work done in this space before, and there really hasn't in Murfreesboro. So a lot of these areas of scope of work are going to be down the road, but we've done all the due diligence and have a path forward. So our priority facilities are the Siegel Soccer Complex and the Old Fort Golf Course. And we really see Siegel as the forefront of opportunity to get some contractually obligated revenue in hand and help fund the Sports Authority and excess to help fund the general fund. Other facilities we will look at are ball fields, community centers, aquatics, and all the hard court surfaces that exist today. And then to invest, look at down the road in public-private partnerships, so that this wouldn't all be on the city of Murfreesboro, but to develop public-private partnerships so that private fundraising and funds come to the table to look at planned investments. And we spoke a little bit earlier today about, there's an obvious partner on the ice side of things, the Nashville Predators. The NHL has a very significant fund called the Industry Growth Fund. that has funded multiple millions of dollars in NHL communities across the country. And it's all about facility investment and getting kids involved in the game and helping grow the fan base. So action step, and some of the stuff we've done, we've dug deeply into the data and analytics, the door turns, demographics, Placer AI data. We've segmented and put prospects against certain targets and focused by prospect where we will make that first ask and first introduction. We're working on developing the final photography, the intro deck. You'll see some times and dates here in the next couple of slides. And then we'll move on from an intro deck just to get the conversation going to build a custom deck for that particular partner. And we've already started working with all the senior leadership at the city around getting their involvement and at the table too. Hi, Robert. Nice to see you. And in a couple of weeks, we'll be in the market with our pitches, with our conversations, and talking to the 200 or so prospects we've identified. So the deliverables, number one, is to deliver on the revenue opportunity and make sure we've done the right assessment, where we think the market is, what the ask will be. And if you start low, you'll end low. But if you start high, you hopefully will stay there. But if you start low, you're not going to go higher. So we will be very thoughtful in terms of what pricing we go to the market with and what ask we make. We've also looked at, and we'll continue to look at, operational assessment. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with operations, but where do opportunities lie? Not in terms of, buy tires at a cheaper price, but where do we look at the business and where can we see opportunities to bring some partners to the table to help it drive a better top-line revenue and better bottom-line revenue. And as new projects come along, to look at how capital stacks are built, what type of investment models could be brought to the table, and what that looks like is how do we put together public-private partnerships and bring some investment to the community that's not just tax dollar investment. So timelines for deliverables, we've identified again, about 200 prospects, and for various reasons, we've segmented them in terms of a target revenue opportunity and where we would focus right now around Siegel. We've started and we'll finalize the city engagement strategy by March 28th. We'll have the introduction deck done by the 4th and the go-to-market plan done by April 7. And at April 7, we'll be actively pitching and ongoing every single day. And we'll build out the custom deck process. So what that looks like is if I was talking to a prospect, I'll use a bank or another institution, and they have interest, then we'll dig a little deeper, learn a little bit more, and then we'll come back with a custom deck that focuses on their mission, values, and what's important to them, what's important to their staff, and what is the most engaging thing for them to do and get involved in the community. And the other three things will come along as time permits, but we're really focused on initially driving revenue, which I think will make our CFO happy and help fund the ongoing work of the Sports Authority and the city. So around accountability and reporting, I've already built the model for this, but I've been working with Nate and Craig on reviewing what assets we have, and that's not just the properties, but inside each of those properties, what assets can we look at to monetize? We've established our revenue priorities in the properties, already identified that. Been working with the city team on a sponsorship policy. I think we're pretty close to having that done. A lot of communities across North America that I've read have developed a real focused policy on making sure that we're not doing it the wrong way, we're asking the right people and not considering partnerships with the wrong brands. We've already talked about go-to-market, partner activation, and then as we start to share the results, and you'll see in our revenue tracking, we have it set up by category, by prospect, who the decision makers are. We'll have narrative on why they're a good fit and why they are a prospect, with a target revenue ask, target initial meeting dates, an ask date, and a close date. So this will give your team and the city team an idea and a look into what can we actually forecast for FY26. So at Siegel, we identified 3 partner categories. So naming rights on the indoor soccer complex itself, and the focus there is to go out 15 years with a 3% escalator, and we have 55 prospects identified against that one. The second one is 3 founding partners, again at the inside indoor soccer complex, a 10-year term, 3% escalators, and 43 prospects identified. And the 20 field partners, we have a variable pricing based on which fields get the most traffic, the proximity, and there'll be 5-year terms, 89 prospects, and if somebody is not a prospect and engaged at the naming rights level at the top, they will ladder down and still have a conversation with them about the other 2, and the same going down. So working with the city, what we're looking for is warm introductions. We've done a lot of work and looked at who the decision makers are in each of our prospects. We've done work into researching why is it a fit, what is their focus, what do they want to accomplish, what do they invest in. So we've already identified the priority properties. We've looked at the prospect list and had approval with that. We are finalizing our go-to-market plan for approval, our pitch materials for approval, the partner activation strategy. So that refers to when a partner comes on, it's not just sign it, collect the check, and talk to them again when it's up for renewal. If it's the right brand, the right product, the right business, the right service, to get them to activate around that asset they invested in. Establish a secured funds policy, which I think we have in place already, that it'll first go into the Sports Authority and excess will then move over to the general fund. As we get going, we'll look at a signage and branding budget. We'll have a brand plan that will support that so it looks consistent. It is in keeping with the brand that Murfreesboro is building. And then one thing we're working on, and this really is helpful, is in earned media efforts, so that if we are able to get the story out there in an earned media way that this is what the city is doing, it's a lot easier to pick up the phone and talk to people and say, I read about that, I'm interested, tell me more. Marketing creative services, and then we'll work with the legal team on developing a contract so that we have all the language done, and then any business terms would only go in as an exhibit, so it shortens the time frame. Don't start with an LOI, we go right to contract and close and start getting the cash flow coming in. And then just working as we secure partners that they're engaged with everyone on this board and as well with the senior staff at the city, and making sure that we're securing long-term partnerships with entities that are engaged, so when it comes time for renewal or consideration or add-ons, that the answer is yes. So, happy to take any questions.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for Mike?
So earlier you got a list of potential prospects, and hope you had a chance to go through that. If you haven't, go through that. One of the things I think, one of the biggest benefits the board can add is to identify people you might know at those prospects, and contact information, and then obviously turn it over to Mike and make the contact in the organization and see if it's a fit. That would be one benefit I think that the board can provide right off the bat.
What's the best format to send that to you?
You can call me or email me. I'll give you my card before I leave.
Okay.
And have a conversation. That's generally better. I'd like to learn more. If you said, hey, you should call this person at this company, I want to know as much as I can and sort of behind baseball, so that it's an informed conversation and not just a cold call. That would be helpful.
It would be great. So as we go through the process, what you'll see, and we do this with the city quite a bit, is that obviously there's a negotiation, there's a pricing list, there's a negotiation, we go through all that. You're a public body, everything's public. So sometimes the best way to handle that is to allow our consultant to handle that, work through it, and bring back to the board the information on how it's going, what agreements we've gone to, why this is substantiated from a pricing standpoint, and things like that, as opposed to just putting out if you put out a price, that's going to be your baseline or less. So it's easier to negotiate when you have a staff level or consultant level to step back and do that kind of negotiations, and that's how we generally handle things too with the city when we do those type of negotiations. Does that all make sense? So that's why you haven't seen a lot of information of pricing and things like that. But we do have demographic information. We Placer AI. You saw a demo of that type of information. All that's very important to the sales process that Mike can hit.
Yeah, and from Nate, we have door turns and traffic, and if you look at the golf course, how many rounds, look at food and beverage per caps, there's a lot of data we can look at, but all the data that we have is very strong, and it's a good case for support for, investing in the Sports Authority and what the Sports Authority is able to deliver for Murfreesboro and its citizens. So.
We had a meeting earlier today, and Mike presented a lot of this with city officials. And so one of the things that you talked about, Mike, that I thought was really good is the ancillary benefits of going about this and what that does for the city over a long period of time, or for the Sports Authority over a longer period of time of developing those kind of relationships. Maybe hit that.
Yeah, so I have a lot of case studies that, we've done over the last 9 or 10 years of investment, and every one of them has been a different model, whether it's been a tourism development zone, a private fund, raise and pay for a facility build, or if it's been, the issuance of bonds under the city's capacity, or developing a public-private partnership. So the Leftwich Tennis Center in Memphis was a city-owned asset, and there's no model like this in the country, where you took a city-owned asset, you took the university, and the site is campus adjacent. They needed a home, the NCAA men's and women's program. And the university we were able to negotiate a long-term lease, but we had them front-end the lease. So instead of paying us over 20 years, we took $7.5 million up front. And that became part of the capital stack. So for a $31 million build, we're able to go start the next level of conversation with about $12 million in hand on a $31 million project, and subsequently raised all 31. It's a thriving facility, city-owned, university tenant, open to the public, not on campus, and run by a nonprofit. So there's no other NCAA facility like that in the country. You talk to any university-owned tennis facility, they're not open to the public. And it's paid for and it's operating, and the nonprofit that runs it has an educational give back, get kids involved in the game that otherwise wouldn't be because of economics or socioeconomic. But we've got other case studies too, and then it's not just one way of making this happen. We've developed this that is specific to Murfreesboro, and we think it's the model that will work.
Great.
And so a partner who advertises heavily with the city, and we have other things that come up like 5Ks or other events that come up. You have the established relationships, and it really can benefit much more than just the agreement itself. Can have a lot larger impact on the city as well.
Yeah, well, I applaud you for having the vision to look at this opportunity. There are lots of communities that are hesitant, lots of properties that are hesitant. I don't know if you saw yesterday, the White House egg event is actually going to sell sponsorship for the first time ever. So there's a new way of thinking, and I appreciate you taking the time to make an investment in the Sports Authority, because I believe that you've got a great city that can deliver results that can drive reinvestment back for its citizens.
Very impressive, Mike. Thank you.
Anything else for Mike?
And
Well-
if you don't have my contact info, I welcome a call or a conversation or anything that I can do to help. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. We look forward to our great results. All right, we are now on item number 4 under other business. Does anybody have any other business? Craig?
I think there's not really any other business, but to piggyback on this, when we did the presentation to council on our policy at a workshop, which I now remember, which I didn't earlier, but one of the questions came up about using this kind of as a jumping off point to develop public-private partnerships for the other plans that we have. And Mike had mentioned on there the future of baseball facility and ice and aquatic facilities and things like that. So I think as we go through this process and build on this, that it's really helpful looking for larger projects like that and building some momentum to get there. I don't think it was any mistake that if you start off with 12 million, you end up with 31, because you have a momentum going into it and people see that there are serious money put into something. So, it's a great way to build on public-private partnership like that.
Agreed. All right, number 5, future meetings. This is always the fun part, trying to figure out when we're going to have another meeting. So,
Yeah, we can figure it out. We can
want to do email again, email poll?
Yeah, I'll have Brenda do a survey. I think the next meeting, I think we should put it off for a little bit to see, to let us
Get some results.
see how it's going, get some feedback. Maybe, what do you say, fall? June?
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe around the June timeframe?
We can always kick it back if we need to.
Yeah, we'll survey and see that June, July kind of timeframe in there and get everybody's schedule together, and we'll have
Okay.
a lot more updates and a massive amount of success, no pressure, Mike, on how we've hit the market.
Good deal. All right. Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about?
One other thing,
Craig?
there is dinner in the other room. If you haven't smelled it yet, it's goodness gracious, I think, and it's really good, so feel free to partake.
Absolutely.
And there's to-go plates in there in case you're not quite ready. It is senior citizen time, so
Deal. Well, we will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Have a great evening. Thank you. I'm going to do this.